business editor Yuka Roy is with us. A very good evening to you.
Hi, Mark.
US President Joe Biden urging Congress to quickly pass an aid package for Israel and Ukraine as he visited steelworkers in Pittsburgh.
Yes, steelworkers in Pittsburgh. Well, this is, of course, in Pennsylvania, a key swing state. And Joe Biden was there to pitch his election year plans at the headquarters of the United Steelworkers Union. And there he took aim at China, accusing steel companies in the Asian giant of cheating thanks to state subsidies. The US president called for a tripling of tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminium products from the current 7.5% to protect American producers against unfair competition. These will apply to imports that weren't subject to a 25% tariff imposed during the Trump administration's era. The protectionist measures back then sparked a broad tit-for-tat trade war with China, and some of them still remain in place. But let's take a listen to what President Biden had to say today.
American steelworkers can outcompete as long as they have fair competition. But for too long, the Chinese government has poured state money into Chinese steel companies, pushing them to make so much steel as much as possible, subsidized by the Chinese government. Because Chinese steel companies produce a lot more steel than China needs, it ends up dumping extra steel into the global markets at unfairly low prices. And the prices are unfairly low because China's steel companies don't need to worry about making a profit because the Chinese government has subsidized them so heavily. They're not competing. They're cheating. They're cheating. And we've seen the damage here in America.
Well, Biden also said that US Steel, a company that agreed to be sold to a Japanese company, should remain totally American. The $14.9 billion takeover deal has been described as on life support since the president voiced his opposition last month, although the US firm's shareholders approved the deal last week.
Now, here in Europe, a much-awaited report on the future of the EU single market was unveiled today. Yuka, tell us more. Yeah,
this is a report that was compiled by former Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta to assess the state of the 3 decades-old single market. He's set to present this report to EU leaders on Thursday at the summit. Titled Much More Than a Market, the document calls on member states to move faster to reform and strengthen the union. It's wide-ranging, it's almost 150 pages long, but the main message is that geopolitical tensions and a rise of protectionism are threatening Europe's economic security. With its aging and shrinking population, the bloc's economic weight in the world is significantly smaller than back in the 1990s, lagging behind the US and facing strong growth of China and India. At a joint press conference with the European Council's president, the report's author warned the continent must seize the last opportunity and the last window that are still open. And the main focus of this report is, of course, finance, telecoms and energy. It says that their exclusion from the single market serves as a major brake on growth and innovation and making Europe less attractive at a time when it needs massive investment for technology and green transition. It also points to a huge potential impact of steering private savings totaling 33 trillion euros into the economy. About a third of that is held in current accounts, and according to Letta, some 300 billion euros of savings are heading overseas, mainly to the United States. That illustrates just how attractive the other places are for some investors. Now, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire is in Washington for the IMF World Bank spring meetings. He spoke to our correspondent Fraser Jackson earlier today about the need to increase European competitiveness.
We are all concerned by the lack of growth in Europe. We are aware that Europe has been severely hit by the consequences of the war in Ukraine and by the rise of oil and gas prices over the last 2 years. So there is a need now for a very strong reaction. And I will call upon all European countries today in the IMF for an economic wake-up call. We need a very strong reaction to have more growth, more jobs, more productivity, more competitiveness, and more prosperity in Europe.
French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire. Let's move on. Boeing, now back under the spotlight this Wednesday on Capitol Hill, of course, this in the wake of part of the fuselage blowing out of an aircraft.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Boeing's, the planemaker's safety culture faced renewed scrutiny in two back-to-back hearings in the US Senate today. Boeing has been grappling, as you said, with a series of safety issues following two fatal crashes in 2018. Its popular 737 MAX planes were grounded as a result of that worldwide. More recently, a part of the fuselage on another MAX plane came off mid-air. And recently, a whistleblower came forward accusing Boeing's management of putting profits before safety. Former engineers at the planemaker testified at the hearing.
I'm not here today because I want to be here. I'm here today because I felt that I must come forward, because I do not want to see another 787. I do not want to see 787 or 777 crash. In a rush to address its bottlenecks in production, Boeing hit problems, pushing pieces together with excessive force to make them appear that the gaps don't exist, even though they exist. The gap didn't actually go away, and this may result in premature fatigue failure. Effectively, they are putting out defective airplanes.
A compelling testimony from a whistleblower there.